beginning with the art of inviting. So this is a little bit about my background. I was in the pharmaceutical industry and I learned about this literally 2 days after the layoff from my physical therapist. So some people always say, well, how can I talk to a doctor? How do I talk to a medical rep? Well, it really always goes through our warm market, no matter what it is, no matter who it is. So I trusted my physical therapist. She laid hands on me for like 3 years. So what she was going to invite me to take a look at, I trusted. Cold calling is difficult. It works, but the numbers are, you got to go through a lot of numbers to get lucky. And so this is more of a precise kind of concept where it could be your personal doctor, it could be your personal eye doctor. It's really who they know. It could be a friend. It could be your chiropractor, that kind of thing. So a lot of times it really goes through a warm market. So when I started this, after I learned about it, I trusted Clara. 2 days after that, we were launching Age Locks. So I flew out to California, because I trusted her, and I saw what I saw. And there was thousands and thousands of people in this conference center, and the Asian people at that time were literally mauling each other to get their hands on Age Locks so they could ship it back home. The fire department had to come in. This is stuff I'm seeing happen. So, then I saw Joe Chang speak, and I obviously connected the dots. But again, it came from someone I trusted. And so some people say, this isn't really a doctor play. It's still a healthcare entrepreneur play, and people that like helping people bring prevention into their life or helping others through a preventative approach to wellness. So the art of inviting is 4 C's, and this is the 4 C's we need to memorize really when we're talking to anybody. Everybody likes a compliment, right? So that really warms up and starts to build rapport with someone. Everybody likes a compliment. Create curiosity. This is drawing from and attracting people to. It's called attraction marketing. So we don't have to go out, sell, 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 sell. We're attracting people to us. I spoke to somebody yesterday as an example that has watched me on LinkedIn for many years. He told me, he said, I've been watching you for about 5 years trying to figure out what you do. I'm like, well, that's intentional because I've done a good job at creating curiosity. I'm not throwing up on people. I'm not putting new skin on anything. I'm not putting Pharmanex on anything. My goal is to talk to people, and doctors and med reps are worse than doctors at being skeptical about anything like our business model because they just simply don't understand it, and that's okay. So creating curiosity is definitely how I've been successful. Control yourself, it's like a dance. It's like a dance in dating. And I always say, when I was single, I wasn't going on a first date saying, hey, you got to meet my, bratty kids and my nightmare of an ex-husband on the first date. I really wanted them to fall in love with me first before I would introduce them to the rest of my life so they wouldn't make an uninformed decision on what they didn't know or understand. And that's the same with our business. And then the 4th C is committing them to action. Close to action is another way to say it. People like to be told what to do, believe it or not, because it's the path of least resistance. We don't have to think as hard when someone says, do this and do this next. So how I do that when I'm talking to people is I'll say, if it's all right with you, I'm going to send you a little bit of information and let's follow up while it's still fresh in your head. What's better for you? Tuesday or Wednesday, morning or afternoon, 2 or 4. So I'm narrowing them down and I'm controlling the narrative on when we can talk again. And if they kind of just blow you off and say, I'll get back to you when I look at it. That's their nice way of saying no, thank you, or not at this time. And that's fine too. I really try and let them know that I'm a busy person and, this is important. So if they want to be on my calendar, we need to schedule a time like any other real business. This is the pipeline from 2022. It's similar but better now, but the concepts are still the same. So the goal is to get a customer or a brand rep, right? So the only way in any business, doesn't matter what the business is, you have to have customers or patients. And the only way you get those is by sort of, in some way, shape, or form, going through this pipeline. So you wouldn't get a customer or rep or a patient, let's say, unless followed up with them, unless you presented to them what we're talking about, unless you had some kind of appointment with them, unless you had contacts, or unless you had leads that lead to those contacts. Any business goes through this pipeline. In our case, leads for us come from our warm market. Ideally, it used to be a Rolodex. I use LinkedIn. Some people use Facebook. Some people use Instagram. And there's an updated slide on this one, but I'll have to grab it for later. And then we contact those leads. Right now, a lot of it's done through messengers. This morning, I was communicating with people on WhatsApp, on Facebook Messenger, and on my regular messenger, and there's emails as well. The very best, obviously, way to present this to anybody, the first and foremost best way is face-to-face. But because of Zooms like this, and because of how we're communicating now through text messages and voice memos and all that kind of stuff, we can communicate to people and prospects through messengers, and through the internet. So we need to book an appointment. And I used to use Calendly, and now I use TechTime. So TechTime, when I communicate with someone or send them information, like my website, through Messenger to take a look at the information, then they book an appointment. So they're now in my CRM and in my calendar. And then either I've presented to them or spoken to them, or they've seen information on my website. Now I want to speak to them for like 5 minutes. This is my process. So once they book an appointment with me, I speak to them for about 5 to 10 minutes, and I'm just trying to figure out where they're at in life. And then I book a follow-up conversation. I'll send them a little bit more information. So now I'll probably send them a link to my website with the password embedded in it. And then at some point after that follow-up, the next call, or maybe even that call, will be a three-way validation with somebody, whether it be a doctor or a medical rep or someone that's been doing this. And in that follow-up conversation or the three-way validation, I'm just going to tell them my story. So let's say I'm the validation partner and I'm doing this call for Lisa. Well, I'll just build a small relationship with them, in the beginning. And then I'm going to tell them a little bit about my story and why this made sense for me. I'm not going to tell them why this makes sense for them. I'm going to tell them why it made sense for me, knowing the backstory of where they're at in their life, and kind of positioning it so that it may make sense to them because it's probably a similar space. And then at some point, they will either become a rep or a customer. Okay, so that's the pipeline that we're going to go through. And there's some great videos on The Art of Inviting by Nathan Ricks. You can look on YouTube and find those. Driving Lines with Nathan Ricks is great. The Art of Recruiting. Actually, I have a video that I'll share with you on The Art of Recruiting. And three-way connections while inviting. There's another link there, but again, this is an old slide, sorry. Reference videos we have. So that's kind of that for literally the art of inviting. All right, so now, when we're doing this process, you guys, we are going to have some interactions as well, especially when we look at, sorry about that. Let me find you guys, hang on. So that was really the art of inviting. My process when I send someone information on LinkedIn, and it can be the same for Facebook, is through messengers. So my first message would be something like, with all the downsizing in the industry, it's important to stay connected. After all, networking is everything these days, right? So go back and remember why you're doing this. Why are you doing this? Why should other people do this, in your opinion? And it probably has something to do with why you're doing it, because, your industry was downsizing, or you just wanted to spend more time with your family. So speak in your language as to why you're doing this when you're sharing with others why that they may want to consider it. That's all I do in that first message on LinkedIn. And that can be done again on Instagram and on Facebook. The second message is, if you do keep yourself open after I get some engagement, so I'm looking for engagement, I'm looking for back and forth, a conversation, on Messenger. After I get an acceptance or engagement, and even with birthdays, if a lot of people are wishing me happy birthday at the beginning of this month, so I'll use that engagement now to reply back to. I put a hotkey in my keyboard to say, HB, how's business? Because I want to know, I want to get them thinking, how's business? Start a conversation. So there's still a lot of back and forth with conversations via Messenger, to engage them and invite them to ultimately take a look at what it is that we have here. So the first message I call really the hook, would they like to, keep themselves open to other things. So once they say yes, then I send them more information and I send them my calendar link. So I'll send them a calendar link. I go back and forth sometimes. If I'm not too busy, I'll send them a calendar link first, then speak to them, then send them my website. Because what happens is sometimes they go on the website, make an uninformed opinion, think that they know it all, and they don't. And I really needed to educate them more. So I kind of go back and forth. When I don't have a lot of time, and I've got a lot of prospects coming in, then I do just send them my website to kind of weed some of them out, if you will. And Dan had a great idea this past week to go ahead and let them know in the questionnaire or the career assessment that we're using, if they understand that it's a 1099, because some people are looking for a job. So we want to weed those out as quickly as possible. So that's one of the steps. And then after that, I do conversation with them. Like I said, find out where they're at in life, send them information, and then follow up with a 3-way validation. And I don't let this time frame go outside of about 48 hours max. Because if you let them go outside of 48 hours before you speak to them again in that invitation to talk again, I usually book the appointment before I get off the phone with them and before I send them anything. I want to lock them into the next appointment. Because if I don't, I pretty much most of the time can kiss them goodbye. Because if they don't get their validation from us, they will get it from somewhere. And Google's not always their friend. And neither is their friend that doesn't know anything about what we're doing. So if I can kind of control that narrative and feed them the information I want them to see first, then that's better off for everyone. So outside of 48 hours is my max. If it's a Friday, I'll let them go till Monday, but I really want to talk to them on Monday because either they forget the information or they talk to too many people that don't know what we're doing and you lose it. So if I can, I'll say, all right, let's try and talk on Tuesday or Wednesday. You got your calendar open? I know your time's valuable. Mine is as well. And that's a form of posturing. So you recognize and you help them understand that, we're all busy people. I'm busy too. And so that's kind of how that works. And that's really it on the art of inviting. So any questions to this point so far? If there is any, you guys can come off mute and ask me whatever you want.
Paige, I have a question. What was your ramp up time? Like, how fast did you really get to where you wanted to be? Well, I know you probably still like growing, but
well, that's a great question, but it's also a question of how big do you want your paycheck? What are your personal goals? Because what we lack in skill set, we make up for in numbers, right? So in the beginning, this is a whole new deal for pretty much everybody on this call. It's a whole new deal. So 10,000 hours to become an expert, right? And if you're only going to do LinkedIn, well, LinkedIn only allows you to invite like 100 people a week, I think. So that's going to, so I diversified my efforts. So diversify your efforts with signing up for as many health conferences as you can that are local and cheap, or reasonable, I should say, and invite on LinkedIn, post stuff on Facebook, it's really, Curtis made a great recommendation. He wants me to do more local stuff. He said, why don't you Google all these drip bars? They're everywhere in town now.
Yeah.
And they've got obviously a captive audience with good money coming to them. So Google them, get their email addresses, and start sending them stuff.
Mhm.
So that's something that's going to take me a little time to sit down and carve out time to look up, to Google all the local drip bars or IV bars or wellness clinics or whatever you want to do. Send them call them maybe and get an email address that's a good email address that you can send the office manager.
Mhm.
So diversifying in all these different ways is going to broaden your funnel and allow more people into the funnel. Because if we have a big funnel, whether it be a LinkedIn funnel, a Google funnel, a Facebook funnel, all these funnels are people that can get into this funnel so that we can sift and sort as quickly as possible.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. So back to answer your question, to get 90,000 contacts, it's taken me 15 years.
Right. 90,000 is a lot though. I'll take 90,000.
Yeah. But so now I have an audience, but it's very intentional the way I built it. In the beginning, I went through my warm market first.
Mhm.
That's what you guys should all do. Don't reach out and cold call on people until you go through your warm market, because that's the very, very best. Once I went through my warm market, then I started, following the layoffs and understanding that my industry was laying off like crazy. So there had to be other people that had contacts like I did that maybe wanted to do what I've just done. So that's how I kind of rolled it out. And there are people that came on board that were, regional directors of big pharma companies that thought that they would do this the pharma way, and they failed miserably because it wasn't just them they signed up for. It was, all of us, and it's a team sport. And, so, but that's just part of this process, and people recognize that this is one of the hardest things you'll ever do in your life. And that's just a fact, because it is hard. It's simple, but it's a very simple process. If you follow the steps, it's simple. And, really focusing on 3 3s is what I was trained on and what I'm going to go back to. And that's what the company is really encouraging us to do, is 3 new contacts a day. If you want to build it faster, you got to do about 10 new contacts a day, right? So 3 new contacts a day, 3-way validations a week, and 3 new customers a month. Okay, so those are good numbers that we can all work with and we're going to be credited for with our company. Another number we should track is 20 3-way validations. Write that number down, put asterisks next to it, put stars next to it, put it in bold. It takes 20 3-way validations to get a brand rep. So if you want 3 new brand reps in the next 3 months, you got to talk to a lot of people. You got to do 20 3-way validations with a validation partner. And that validation partner is just another voice, you guys. You're all good enough to do a 3-way validation. And I can train you on that's going to be on another training on how to do a 3-way validation. Because all you're really doing is you're befriending somebody, which you guys can all do, and you're just getting to know what they're looking for. And then you're going to tell them your story in a way that kind of fills in the gaps and makes them think, hey, that's why I'm looking, So that's all you do. You're going to leave the person better than you found them. And you don't have to know all the science because we have the websites for that now. We've got the chat GPTs there. The validation is just another voice. And it works really, really well in this business, especially for this side of the business. If they want to see a doctor doing this, if it's a doctor and they want to talk to another doctor, we can probably set that up, but we got to get some doctors on board to have them leverage and talk to other doctors for us too. And I would only hold that for the really special people because we've only got so many doctors that They're still playing doctor, so they don't have time to do three-way validations. But we've got videos, we've got websites with videos of doctors, we've got testimonials of doctors, we've got more than enough doctor information for them to. Now we've got these new webinars on Wednesday nights. So push them to the webinar if they want to hear from another doctor. But three-way validations we can all do, and it takes a lot of confidence to do a three-way validation to a doctor. And the way I was trained, I'm barely there. Yeah, I can go toe to toe with a doctor, but it takes a lot of confidence to do that. So, and just remember, if they don't get validation from you, they're going to get it from somewhere, and it's not going to be in your favor. So we have to go back to the basics and do three-way validations with prospects on the third call. Yes, go ahead, Julie.
Okay, I was grabbing the baby. She just woke up. Sorry about that. So here you go. Give her some Pinterest to look at. So 3 contacts a day, 3 customers a week. What was the third thing you said?
Three-way validations a week. And, this is y'all's call too. So if you think 3 new customers a week is a stretch, it probably is. How about 3 new customers a month? That shouldn't be too much to do. I think that's doable, right?
It's perfect. I'm going to shoot for 3 a week.
All right. And you know what? If you guys want to, and this is totally up to you, we can jump on this call on Wednesdays and say, all right, Sarah, where are you at with your 3 threes? So we're accountable. And whoever wants to volunteer that information, that's cool too. But we can be a little competitive here, right? But at least we're going where we want to go and where we need to go. I didn't used to like that when I started. I didn't like being accountable for what I was or wasn't doing. So that's totally up to you. And we'll do 3-way validations here, and we're going to rotate on who gets to be the validation partner and who gets to be the prospect. And that used to be one of my least favorite things to do when I was a pharma rep is role playing. Oh my gosh, I could not stand that. Hated it. But you can practice with us so that when it matters and gets out there, you're saying the right things to the right people and not saying, this is an opportunity that you should do because blah, 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 blah. There's so many subtle things and nuances that we might say without even knowing that could kill the deal. Here's a good example. When I would leave a message for someone, I always used to say, call me when you get a chance. That's just my default habit. And one of my business partners broke me of that habit because nobody has a chance and it's all in language and communication. So I started saying, call me when you get this. But it's just a very subtle thing. And if we hear it here, I can course correct and help course correct you. So you're not saying the wrong things. So you're saying, I would say, maybe I would say it differently. Maybe I would use the word technology or device instead of biophotonic scanner. Because if I can keep them from going to Google and looking stuff up as long as possible till they fall in love with us, that's better. And that's the goal. So it's language, communication, and the way we say things. That's all course correctable. But it's just simple nuances and simple habits like the one that I just shared with you.
Hey, Paige, I have a question for you real quick. Going back to our conversation we had last week with Carmen and you just mentioning the drip bars again. I remember our conversation and I kind of really wasn't listening when you and her were talking technical details about that, but we were talking about white label supplements in there. So if you encounter a hydration, an IV bar or whatever, and they already have those white label supplements in there, are you going to not bother? I remember you saying something about 4 or less or something like that.
Okay, great point. Thank you, Gloria, for bringing that up. When I go into a clinic and they have their brand white labeled, meaning their brand name all over supplements, and they're everywhere, or they've got a room full of supplements, probably not the greatest target, probably not the lowest hanging fruit, because now you're going to be calling their baby ugly, right? My scanner's going to prove yours don't work. Sorry, now that won't go over so well. So I'm saying that's not that I wouldn't do it, but I'm saying that is not going to be low hanging fruit because there's ego involved with them white labeling it. And there's this margin concept that I can buy a crappy product for $5, mark it up 200% and make a temporary profit.
Yeah, but if they can prove it, they're going to make so much more.
Right. But again, it's calling their baby ugly because they've invested time, money, and inventory and resources and ego. They've invested all of that, and now you're going to be saying that shit doesn't work. I mean, stuff doesn't work.
Yeah, I totally see that.
Yeah.
But was there anything, am I remembering it correctly? Did you say something about 4 products or less, or was that just something she was talking about? I think she was saying she worked at a place that had a lot of the white label things, and then she also worked at a place that had 4 or less, and then another place that didn't have any. And so she wanted to not do the white label things, which her business partner was pushing her to do. And so
Right.
she was bringing the supplements in the scanner. And so
Yeah.
I think that was just something that she was saying. But yeah, it's interesting. I did not know about, I guess I knew that places like this carried their own stuff and they could actually, package and market their own things and make it look like something that they've created. I guess anybody can get stuff compounded or whatever, right? But it's just interesting learning all these little, like you said, nuances as we're going into this.
Yep. And that's a good point. Gloria, you and I, we could go make some supplements in our garage today, stick a label on it and sell it. That's legal. We don't have to go through a bunch of red tape to do it. So there's a lot of unadulterated crap on the market, and that's who we're competing with, which is no competition. When you care about really what's the ingredients are in those products, 1,200 products have been sent a cease and desist letter because what's on the label is not what's in the bottle from the government. So that's the kind of market we're dealing in. Not to name names, but Bausch and Lomb is a pretty good product in my brain. I was thinking, okay, they're all over the TV. They've been around forever. Bausch and Lomb, are you kidding me? Right? So they make an eye formula that is an AREDS 2 eye formula. When AREDS 2 came out, AREDS 2 was a 20,000 patient or so study. There were 2 of them that made a direct correlation between macular degeneration and low antioxidants. So all of a sudden, all the optometry offices and ophthalmologists started carrying an AREDS 2 formula or directing their patients to go to Publix or the store and buy an AREDS 2 formula. We also have an AREDS 2 formula, but ours is pretty good, right? So I like gummies because they're sweet and I don't like to swallow a lot of pills. So I went to the Publix and got Bausch and Lomb's eye formula that's in the gummy format. And taking it for 3 months, it did not move the needle even 1,000 on the scanner. What does that tell you? Nothing but sugar and crap in there. Bausch and Lomb. I mean, you guys. So that's what we're dealing with. Once you start, and once the doctors really, once you start digging into this and you see people scanned and the doctors see people scanned that are taking a handful of supplements, been taking them for years and they don't budge the needle, you realize who we're competing with. We don't have competition. And it's not, I'm saying it's better, it's the scanner. We did not invent these products to sell our product. We didn't not invent the scanner to sell our products. We acquired it. So that's a huge thing that needs to be pointed out when people are comparing. Well, what about this great supplement here? Great. Put your hand on the scanner. Put your hand on the scanner. Put your hand on the scanner. That's always the answer. Because it doesn't matter what it is. If you're organically juicing 8 to 10 servings of fruits and vegetables a day, you probably get a high 5 and an A on the test. But is that sustainable? Is that reasonable cost-wise? No. So in this country, we have to supplement, and our supplements are guaranteed to work 100% money back in 60 days. Great questions, you guys. Here comes Miss Allie.
Hi.
Hi, Allie. What's your burning question? Because that's where we are, and I'll send you the recording.
Oh, put me on the spot. What's my burning question?
Yeah, you've been doing this a couple months. Come on, what's your question for me?
Oh, how are you? Well, what's the topic? What are we talking about? Are we talking about the app, or are we just talking about scanner and
No,
business
this
in
is a
general?
scanner business call on
All
Wednesday
right,
morning at 10:15. The tech call is going to be on Wednesday morning,
got
Friday.
got it.
And,
My head's been down in snow, so I'm trying to get my head right.
okay.
So I want to know more about like how are we getting these scanners placed more in doctors' offices? How are y'all cold calling? Is there secret sauce? Is there a connection that's being made to get y'all a scanner in these offices? That's where I'm at right now.
Okay, cool. So we answered a lot of that, but I will answer a couple more because I know everybody's thinking the same thing, and that's cool. So I started with my story, which is that I learned about this from my physical therapist. I trusted her. She laid hands on me for 3 or 4 years, I think. And literally 2 days after my layoff, she shared this with me. And so obviously I trusted her. She, someone she referred me to suggested I go to Utah to California from Florida 2 days later. And it's only because I trusted her that I listened. So cold calling for the most part doesn't really work very well. You got to do a ton of numbers to cold call. Allie, you're an ex-farmer rep, so you know how to do that, and that you're better than most on that because that's your background, and you're used to calling on doctors. Not everybody on this call has got that background, but cold calling is tough, even for someone that's as good as me, because trust is everything. So
Yeah.
I don't cold call. I go through a warm market, which is why I like pharmaceutical reps. I was one. I can relate to them because I was one. Same for you, Allie. You were one. You can relate to others like that. So I don't cold call. It's not
Got
the
it.
best, right? So that's one thing. It always goes through a warm market. And as I was sharing in the beginning, whether it be your personal doctor, your husband's doctor, your eye doctor, your chiropractor, your med spa, they may know some doctors. They may have relatives who are doctors. So go through the warm markets first
Yeah.
and start using the technology by sending them the right information and collecting their contact information. And you can go through a warm market. Like I went through my warm market of doctors I called on, and I was talking to somebody yesterday. 600 to 1,000 probably as farmer reps we called on over the years. Well, I had 5 in my phone as favorites. I went to their weddings. I went to their kids' weddings. I went to their bar mitzvahs. They came to my stuff. Those were tight-knit relationships.
Yeah.
And the first doctor, I'm still being paid on what his patients are shipped 15 years later. But he
Wow.
trusted me enough to open the door, to listen to what I had to say. And he was a pulmonologist. You're not going to hear me say a pulmonologist is the perfect target. He believed, he trusted me, and his wife had a diabetic supply company. Diabetic supplies are the same model we have, a device that moves something else. A device of glucose monitor moves strips. Our scanner moves supplements. He liked that model, and that's why he was attracted to it enough. One, he trusted me, and one, he liked that model and wanted freedom and was getting into A4M and training and all that. I mean, wellness and prevention. So once I went through my warm market, then I went through then I brought on board other reps that I got laid off with at Behringer. Again, they trusted me. And we kind of had the same skill set, calling on doctors for a living, that we had relationships with, that we had some in our favorites on our phone. That's why I like the reps, and they're on LinkedIn.
Very good.
If one of the things you guys should focus on doing if you're going to work on LinkedIn with medical reps and doctors is you really have to polish up your profiles and make them super professional looking and strip everything that can lead to anything that they think they might see. Or it can't have a video with the scanner in it. It can't have a website with the scanner in it, because your goal is to talk to them. Your goal is to have a conversation with them, whether it be 5 minutes, find out where they're at in life, to then send them our information to have them take a serious look at it. It's not to splash things all over out there and not create any curiosity. Because the way I've built this, I created curiosity so much so that people still after following me for 5 or 10 years don't know what I do. And that's very intentional.
I have a question.
Yes, Laura.
So, I've never used LinkedIn. I am strictly Facebook, Instagram, and I would love a training on how to set up my LinkedIn and make it look professional. Because, I mean, I'm all about reels. I'm silly. Like, I want to also have my professional side come out, but I really don't know how.
Okay. You know, that is a great, great recommendation. So if you want to, on the next training call that we have on Wednesday, I can go over just that specifically, if that's what you guys want to do, because this is your call. I'm giving you
That
my
would be
time, and this is your deal. So whatever you guys need collectively as a group that makes sense for you, that's what I'm all about.
that would be great. Thanks so much.
You bet. So next Wednesday at 10:15 Eastern, we will do LinkedIn, how to make it perfect or really good.
Paige, I have a quick question for you. So I do not have a scanner yet. So is that something you recommend I get like right away?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
You don't have to have a scanner right away.
Okay.
If you're a brand rep, you know, you don't have to get a healthcare package to get a scanner. That's one of the benefits of being a brand rep. So if you're not a brand rep, I would definitely get there, you know, so that you can lease a scanner. The scanners we lease for, or the company leases for $144 a month. But if you're not going to go out there and pound the pavement with it, I'd save probably my money, you know, for now. But if you're going to be out there doing health shows, or health fairs, and you know, and cold calling and visiting doctors, you definitely have to have a demo unit or a scanner to demonstrate. And you know, for new reps coming on board, I'm not sure if it's $1,000 and they need to place 3 scanners in 3 months, or if it's the $2,500 healthcare package. But if you're already a brand rep, you can have access to one right away. Anybody else? All right, guys. Well, I'm going to stop now then. And next Wednesday, we're going to do LinkedIn training. And when Friday at 10:15, we are going to do tech training, tech time training. Wednesday nights, for everyone that has a Tech Time account, which is everybody on this call, we're going to do prospecting webinars for doctors and for medical reps. So that is going to use, and I'll help you set up. I think Trisha is helping me set up today, using your calendars and a form to invite prospects so that they end up in your CRM so you can follow up with them. Okay, so that's literally being, sorry, it's the last minute, but it's being set up today. I would rather not everybody just give out the Zoom link for the webinars, because if it's your prospects, you want to know they're on the call and you want to be able to follow up with them. So, but that part will be more available probably next week, so you can be more specific with your targeting prospects and maybe people who might want to look at and be presented the business from the healthcare perspective. You guys have not heard about this yet. It's going to be tonight at 8 p.m. Sierra is presenting, and myself, Dr. Feld, and Kathy Petrillo, and Lisa Malone, registered dietitian, are going to be the testimonials on the end of it. So always listen and learn and pick up word tracks, and that's what it would be good for you guys to listen in on for as well. It will be recorded, and some of the videos that we've already done or previously done may be on your websites, but these will be recordings that we'll be able to use for future stuff.
Since that's tonight, Paige, is there any way like I could get help setting up a link so I can send that to a prospect today?
Yep.
Awesome. Thank you,
So
ma'am.
yep. So just so you guys know, I just turned off the record. No, yeah. Let me pause the recording real quick.
Hey, Paige, I also would like some help setting up how you have on so that it goes to that form and it sets up the calendar and you get their contact information. I don't quite know how to set that up in my.
Okay. So I'm going to record this and I'm going to split this up and I'm going to show you guys how to do it right now. Okay. If you guys want
Perfect.
to. All right. All right. So if I haven't shown this to you yet, I'm pretty impressed with this. This is something that Trisha just built and it's ridiculously cool. So if someone fills out a skin assessment, they're going to get, and they answer one of the questions, you know, what are you most interested in? Whatever they answer, it's going to take them down a funnel. And she's actually got to break this up because it's too big, but she just did all the work, which is amazing. I just have to admire it. Let's see one thing. All right, let me share my screen here. Okay, so in your accounts, under sites, under forms, is this form called 1/22/2025 webinar. It could be called on the templates 2025 live webinar or something like that. It's definitely got 2025 in it. Okay, so this is the form that we're going to use that they're going to fill out once you send them a calendar invite. Okay, so just know this is the form, and this form Trisha is adding to your accounts now if she hasn't already. So it should be sit in forms, but she's literally in the process of doing this right this second. So look for this when you can pop into your accounts. This is the form you're going to use. Okay, it's in templates. So how you would add it in templates is you would go add form, from templates, continue. If it's not already preloaded, you would go to my templates and you would go to, this is the newest one, 2025 live webinar registration. So that's the form you would add if you don't see it in your account under forms already. Okay, let's see. Now, in calendars, you would go to calendar settings, you would go to calendars, and this one is called Wednesday night overview. She's copying it into your accounts as well. So I'm gonna you have to make sure it says or does the following. Okay, so in meeting details, this is the logo I'm using. You can use whatever logo you want, but it's nice. Availability has to be set to your time zone, which is 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. my time. So Allie, for example, your time zone in this calendar should say, and even if Trish did set this up, please go in and fix it so that it's set to your time zone. So it will flip for prospect's time zone, but it has to be set up for your time zone here. Availability is 8 to 9 Wednesday night only. That's the only thing that should be checked here in this calendar. Forms and payments. I like the form. Where did I see it? 2025. Let's see if I have it. It's either this one or the 2025 one, but that's the form they're going to use. Let's see, forms of payment. Yeah. You want to change this message because the default is like, you know, has your phone number here and all the other stuff. So change this message to thank you for registering for the webinar. We'll contact you shortly to confirm your request, blah, 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 blah. This sends them into a reminder funnel. Connections, make sure your calendar is linked here. And then customizations, looks like that. connections, meeting details. In meeting details at the bottom, make sure you have this My Zoom link, which is, it ends with, that meeting number. Make sure that Zoom link is in here. And you can copy this description as well to make sure you just put all the time zones. So that's the calendar. So when you're sending someone the invitation, you can send them this link by clicking on share. And I would probably do the permanent link, but you can do the scheduling link as well. And just copy that if you want to send it really quickly.